Hello everyone, it's Professor Ines095 back here with a new video of the year. So this is the first video of 2025. So of course, I wish everyone happy New Year. Hope you have a blast, have a good one. Of course, so I've seen a lot of content creators doing this about like how they feel about Vanguard in 2024, and laying down the expectations for 2025. Of course, I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I want to see, because like I wanted to give my own fair share of take on some things as well. How Vanguard has treated us so far in 2024, and also like laying down the expectations for 2025. So this is where I want to have like a lot of things to talk about. So yes, well, a lot of things to explore. So before we jump straight into what those things are, a word from the sponsors. This video is sponsored by My Metal Cards at Etsy.com. So yes, this is a new upcoming shop which specializes in selling like a lot of metal cards. So hence the name. So it ranges and specializes in like a lot of games such as Cardfight, Vanguard, MTG, and Warhammer. So in this case, if you see here for Vanguard, they have energy counters for every nation. There's also like treasure tokens for MTG. There's also like plenty other designs for Vanguard, such as like fated ones. There's also like nation ones, and also it comes with acrylic ones. It's more transparent acrylic ones, so that's pretty cool. If you want to get one of these, that's also nice. And also there's plenty of other designs which are not in this shop, but you can custom pre-order them. You can like order them customly, such as like my Chronojet black and white energy counter, which is like 0 to 10. There's also like black and white like nation cards such as like Brandgate, which I have over here, and also like they have like IoT like energy markers, energy counters, which I have like all three, like bronze, silver, gold respectively. So that's about it. And also, if you go to this shop and have the coupon code Enochsays, 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 you get $5 off for your first purchase of one of these metal cards as well. So five again. Enochsays, ENOCHSAYS, for $5 off for your first purchase, and do check them out. There's plenty of designs, and you can use them to spicify your decks, make it bling, make it fancy. Do keep in mind that since these are custom-made energy markers or whatsoever, counters or whatsoever, you cannot use them in like official Bushiroad tournaments, but you can use them as a form of like collection or whatsoever. And there you go. Just pick one of these up, and hopefully you'll like them. I like it personally, so do give them the support, and that's about it. I'll see you in the next video. Alright, so how do I feel about 2024 in general? Well, actually, as a matter of fact, 2024 in Vanguard, for Vanguard is technically, I would say I will rate it like 7 out of 10. I would say probably 8 out of the most charitability, because there are some things in my personal opinion that Bushiroad has done right in general. But also like, I felt like there's a lot of like areas of improvement as such. So maybe we'll probably want to jump into the first things first, which is the mechanic of Energy Blast and also the 50 card main deck, right? So the Energy Blast system, which they have introduced in the early of the year, if I recall, it's actually really good. Okay, so this is like the great way of introducing a form of like, alternative cost to pay for anything aside from your usual counter blast and your soul blast. So that's kind of nice. And so like this is something that we should really focus on. Of course, there's a lot of argument to be made whether or not this thing is gonna be brought into premium, but I would say like I just think I like it in standard, because like, the whole idea of energy blast is the whole the standard thing right now, aside from being like over triggers. But of course premium and also like V premium is also a
good thing. And like V Premium is gonna die out soon, so that's a little bit of a shame. But as someone who, on hindsight, I felt like V Premium is technically should be at this point discontinued, because there haven't been like so much support for it, aside from all of the new usual promos that like Bushido will done once in a while, which is like those Hue Guardians and the Right Fixers. Those are good, but I felt like at this point they are more geared towards like trying to make premium, try to buff premium in a sense. So technically speaking, they're like a mini versions of what I call like a premium support. So in general, but also like on one hand, it's good that the Energy Blast system kind of like gives a lot of variety of how deck building options and whatnot, especially when it comes to like 50 card main deck, which opens a lot of room and opportunities for a lot of decks to how they want to build their decks. There are more spaces for you to fit in your staples, for example. There are more things there are more things that you can dump in there and try to make the deck better, consistent, yada yada, all that stuff. But also like the idea of filtering the filtering capacity of the deck kind of like a little bit of diminished as well, especially like I think the best case of argument for this one was Youthberg, because Youthberg before the whole 50 card main deck change has very good amount of like filtering capacity because of like that cards like Fergosa and like the Angel. I don't remember the name. It's the Great One Angel actually. That kind of like filters out all of your revolve forms out. So that is where the aggressive filtering is there. But with the whole 50 card main deck stuff, I think that's kind of like with you added 4 cards in there, but it kind of like messes up like how the timing of you like checking your triggers and the idea of you like checking your triggers on the right time. So I felt like a lot of decks has been really affected by this, but overall I felt like it's a very good change, especially like why you have like introduced the idea of alternative costs as well as like giving more deck building variations and options. So that's the one part of it. I would say like 2024 has been really great for Vanguard in general, a new system. And of course the next part I would say is the idea of like doing the products for 2024. Now products in 2024, especially if you're looking at decks like like Strike deck sets, these are BT01, Festival Booster, yada yada and all that stuff. For me, like I said, it's probably like a good 7 or good 8 out of 10. First things first, let's get the awful things off the way. The QSDs, the Quick Start decks. For 30 ringgit in Malaysia's context, for 30 ringgit just for you to RNG whether or not you get the Sanctitude and whatever random effect trigger, as well as a whole vanilla deck with like 4 main Vanguard cards, I think it's absolutely horrendous. Of course, that is the only place and the only set where they have to force you to get it because of energy generators and the counters as well. It's probably on hindsight, actually as a matter of fact, not even on hindsight, right? It's actually awful for a starter pack because it's I don't think this is the right way to probably like try to introduce like players into the game at this point. So you wouldn't want to recommend like people to just get the QSD for the sake of like starting the Vanguard. At this point you might as well just ask people to buy like Strike deck sets like Harry and like Rose. And the only way the only reason why you want to get that the QSDs in the first place is because of the energy generator and the whatever random effect trigger at one random Sanctitude. If you can get it or not, you just get a PG. But it's probably not the best starter product that you can really recommend to people, right? Even then, the 2022's what do you call that? The Wildress ones, the Wildress starter decks like the Urara Michiru and what else? Like Raika's like TD is way miles better than whatever that QSD was offering. So that's fine. But you have to understand that 2024 also gave us a very good banger items such as what you call that, the festival booster like EV Cycler Dragons, Dual Nations, boosters and boosters and hostage orders in hostage orders in one sense. So they are actually good. They kind of like help revolutionize the game in one way. They help to like make create new sense of combos that people can try to like explore. Oh wait, actually this is very good in like say for example strike decks. They are good in decks like Eva. They are good in decks like Blankmire. They're good in decks like what else? Rezael, Lemidras, etc. Right? So all of those things are actually good. But of course, like being the very good generic cards that they are going off to be quite the most expensive cards in general. In the entire year, in the entire set. Okay, so as well as like you know, there are good PRs this time around, especially for like the Superior Riders, for glitters such as the Kaiju ones. Okay, I don't remember what's that. It's like Immigrant or something. I don't remember the advanced Kaiju, but yes, that's the name. That's a very good PR. I don't remember the rest of the other PRs, but of course there are some reprints in the PR that is like meh, I would say, in general. Cage of Furious Storm was one example of it. I don't think that card really warrants a reprint. So does Selfish Engraver. I don't think that card's really warrants a reprint as well. So actually there are some reprints in the promo that does not even warrant a reprint. I felt like this is technically it's just jackass useless, and I don't understand why Bushido has the brightest idea to reprint some of the very bad ones. So that is the most funniest ones, I would say, in terms of like reprinting PRs. That's one thing for sure, right? So yes, of course, the low supply, high demand. So for in case of like for the Dual Nations and the Energy Cyclers, because right now if you want to get them, it's very hard. So of course, my expectations would be try to have more consistent reprints of those cards in one way or another. So that's probably one of it. For in terms of like booster sets in general, booster sets, the DZBT01 and 02 was awesome. 04 was nice. 05 was okay-ish, because that's the set where we get Levidras, Rasetsu, and Odium, so which is my favorite Darkseid's deck so far in terms of like aside from Chronojet, of course. The rest was kind of a little bit meh. Especially when we talk about Night Rose and Hari. Sure, they are very good strike decks, but unfortunately they are not the ones topping the meta recently. Although you would see Night Rose topping here and there once in a while, but they are not very meta defining, because Shiranui is still around, Luat is still around. So of course, could be better. 06 is kind of a mixed bag for me. I think the Chronos command is nice and with like Transiles and whatnot support, but at the end of the day I felt like 06 could be better in one sense. 03 was okay, I would say. 03 gave us a very good stuff like Nuclear, Dayusha, Procolors and Albina, so they are very good cards actually, good generics there as well. So 03 is not too bad. It's just that I felt like the early of the year, I felt like, and also like Festival Booster Kit that came out in May. So in general, 2024's products was kind of a mixed bag for me. They are good, there are peaks, and there's also like very lows. So of course, Energy Cyclers is definitely the big best highlight, the better highlights, because they're generics that you can probably slot them in any other decks that you felt like it's good to put in if you have the space for it. So you can utilize their Energy Blast in any way, one year or the other. So that's about it. Meta, alright, like talking about the competitive scene, talking about the meta wise, right? Rezael and Levidras, actually, these two decks has been carrying, has been popping out since the beginning of the year. In case of Rezael, Rezael has been there, Vanguard has been there also, I would argue. Levidras will only dominate almost in the later half of the year. So like when Levidras first came out around like August, people were kind of like not very happy, like not so happy. That's not the right word. they find Levitras a little bit underwhelming until Imperial comes out, and that changes a lot of how Levitras plays, and changes a lot of like how like Levitras does the deck building and the strategies around it. And of course, it's safe to say that you will see the results of Imperial and also Vita to extend on like how they dominated the meta on the later half of the year. So of course, some people are concerned whether or not like these two decks will get hit in the future, especially we have to wait for like the next 2 weeks when the presentation comes out, when the stream comes out. So the early of the year stream will be the highlight of whether or not like we get a new ban list of sorts. Maybe there's a ban list, maybe there's not a ban list. But of course, they might give us a statement or like something along the lines of like, okay, so here's a watch list. So be aware, we are keeping an eye on some of the things that is going around. So the last time we had this kind of like a watch list, alongside with the Anastasia unbanning in Ebisu, which was like last month, actually in December. So along those lines, they explain the reasons why the Catapult, such as like Tearfall, the Minerva Order, and Selkaon was on the watch list, as well as the Magros Hostage was among one of the things in the watch list. So I don't understand the reasons why, because like Bushiroad does have a weird way of justifying like their watch list and their ban list in general. So of course, it's only up to us to see it. Like it's only a matter of time whether or not these decks will get hit. So that's one part of it. Of course, there are a lot of interesting metas that has been popping out lately. Of course, like I said, aside from Rezael and Levitras, honorable mentions goes to Shoujo Doji, which also scares the living hell out of people, because Shoujo Doji does come out as like one of the best meta decks from like say since 03 came out, because that changes a lot of things until the ban list, until it got hit. But of course, like it's also like limited to one and yada yada. So that's one of it. Vanguard was good. Shirley was okay until the whole OT restriction and also like full ride restriction, which hurts a lot because like that's the second time that Shirley gets hit for the second time. And also Luat. Luat is also like do pop up in the meta once in a while. So yes. But people were saying that like the meta this time around were kind of like felt very boring and very monotonous because it's always the same thing that has been popping out. To which I would say like sure, in one sense you always see Shoujo Doji in the early half of the year, and then there's also Rezael that pops out in the early half, Vanguard the same, and also like in the later half of the year we have like also Rezael Vita, we have Rasetsu, and then you have Levitras, right? As evident in the most recent funny hihi haha PCS Singapore, which they have like 7 Levitras and 1 Rezael. So that can never be hilarious to me, because if this is the pattern that we are moving on for, like when set 6 comes out, like I cannot dread to imagine what's like English scene will be like, considering how like we have like a lot of like set 5 is already this wonky and this funny. So yeah, that's about like how my personal opinion on recapping 2024 in general. So maybe we can just move on to next year's like this year's expectation for 2025. Alright, so maybe we can go for the expectations for 2025 right now. Actually, this is just, I'm recording this early in the morning, so maybe you can hear a little bit of like a sniffle, maybe my voice is not that good. So that's why, you know, I need to drink some water. Excuse me for a bit. Oh. Right. Anyways, 2025. What's the first thing I wanted to have like expectations for it? Well, more reprints, right? First things first. We are starting off 2025 with the new booster set, DZBT07, where we have like a reprint of the PGs, OTs, as well as effect draws and effect crits. So those are nice. That is definitely welcome. Although some people are complaining, why don't we have like effect fronts? Why isn't there like a reprint of like effect fronts and whatnot, and effect use to an extent? That is fine. I think like I honestly would prefer if they reprint effect fronts, because that was the most important thing other than from draws and crits. But of course, maybe different people will feel different things differently in terms of like how they in terms of like what triggers they want to be printed. But other than that, like I think they are doing a very good track. They're doing very well. Bushido is doing great on terms of like a yearly first booster reprints, which they did in December 01. If you recall that in early of the year they do like a vanilla. Aside from those new vanilla, I would say like those Cray elemental triggers. They also like reprint the PGs in the QSD as well as like reprinting like some of the OTs as well. But also this time around they are doing that the same. So of course the OTs wise, it's great that they have added the yellow OT and the purple OT. That is definitely good, as well as the red and blue OT. So which is nice. Now, of course, maybe some of you like wanted to disregard the idea that maybe that we don't need any more reprints of gun cyclers, but I argue otherwise. I felt like at this point it's a necessity because we are moving on to a very new year of having like utilizing energy plus. So I can foresee that in the future they will do reprints. It's just that we don't know when and we don't know how. But one of the few things that I really wanted to see them do reprints is those staples aside for like cards like Bomber Mine, for example, or cards like, I don't know, maybe I would say like a Philander or something along those lines, right? Which actually, as a matter of fact, maybe like Salgo on, and then you have Furia, Shenris, and yada yada, something along those lines, right? But to be fair, some of those cards has been reprinted last year in the Koro Koro set, actually. And speaking about Koro Koro set, that was a very weird set to have. Especially how like some of the decks there are actually interesting, but they don't really top the meta. Aside from that, like they give us a very nice alternative art-ish of rarity, where you have like the Koro rare, and then you have the GCR as well, and so also as the alternate art of like some of the staple cards like your Soul Blast Cyclers, like your Teapot clones, as well as those kind of like what else? Like you know, like Lamina and all those stuff, right? As well as those other interesting things. I don't remember, I can't really think of the top of my head, but then again, I'm just rambling at this point. But those are kind of like very good support. I would like good reprints as well. So that is interesting. So I hope that this year they will do the same for EV cyclers, or those gun cyclers in general. Maybe something else that really warrants a reprint or along those lines, right? So we'll see about that. That's first things first. I really want them to do that. The second thing is that like Bushido should really like focus on more on their local IPs first. Like first on my mind was that Morphonica and Michael, those two are the most popular and the most interesting IPs that they have explored so far within the game. And so they already did what do you call that, Morphonica support like during the previous few streams. So all of the members get their own crest, not crest per se. They got their own support with their own music and yada yada. That is a very interesting way to like explore the Morphonica mechanic. So that's kind of nice. So probably this year we might expect the same for MyGo, because I see more MyGo fans than Morphonica fans, as a matter of fact. I think, you know, because Morphonica, you can probably argue it's because Amanesu was there, so probably like she is very popular so far, so that's why they give the support. But of course, like just extend the same thing to MyGo as well. One thing that I'm really interested and excited to see is that if they're going to have like support for these two decks, for these two bands, I would expect that they will do the same for Ave Mujica, which I might expect sometime they will do like around like September or October or something along those lines, when the whole collab set. It's gonna be somewhere around in the collab set, and probably, hopefully not in the mainline set, right? So who knows? So oh well, only time will tell whether or not like Bushido will do the same thing. But also I probably want to focus on this part on like Bushido focusing on their IPs in general, like other foreign IPs. the collab decks in general. So as a matter of fact, collab decks and collab nations like Brackets of Ragnarok, Shaman King, Token Ranbu, what else? Monster Strike. So these are very interesting. These decks have been very interesting in the first place. There's a lot of like different decks popping around here and there, like Ebisu for example, Mikazuki, Munechika, and then all of those very interesting decks popping around. I was hoping that they don't they don't leave these like we would say like these collab decks hanging, these collab nations hanging. Because honestly speaking, we are moving on to an era where we have a lot of like DZ stuff with like energy blast mechanic incorporated into the decks, into the cards in general so far. So I was hoping at this point like those nations and like those collab nations will get something similar to that. New wave of support which uses energy blast, don't leave them hanging. And maybe like maybe you could make the argument of like because they don't have like new things to pop up, so therefore like it's very difficult to like make something around with it. If that was the case, like probably find something else to like try to put in there. I know there will be like a lot of things that you can do with it, but I'm excited to see like see Token Ranbu, especially like last time we get the support when we get the crest. For all of the blades, all of the swords, they have their own crest, and also training tools. Like training tools kind of like help Munechika in a way, or even if it's not Munechika, some of the token decks that do pop up in the meta once in a while. So yeah, that is nice, but I was hoping that like they would have like more energy support, energy related support into it, and diversify like the meta in general. So maybe in making the decks more interesting rather than having them to energy blast 7 and draw 1 all the time. So which is not nice, right? It's gonna get boring. So maybe like we need to have like some sort of a mechanics, like energy blast mechanics put into them, and make the deck, make these nations more interesting, and probably new wave of support. Maybe you can do this in a yearly booster, yearly product, or that dedicates all of these like supports in those one box or something. Maybe if you don't want to do separate boxes, or if you don't want to mix in one box, you can do like separate boxes in this and make them have the same release date, so that they have like an equal footing, equal opportunity for every decks to explore that doesn't have an energy support, energy blast support, or energy charge support to make the meta a little bit funny, a little bit diverse, deck building, yada yada. Of course, most people would argue that these are not decks that most people will play. I agree. It's very niche. Not many people have those decks. But I have a few friends that does. And they felt like Token Ranbu is actually not a bad deck to play with. Monster Strike is not a bad deck to play with. It's just that we need more support. So this is a good opportunity for Bushiroad to probably explore the potentials of these collab nations and collab decks with all of the new things around. Moving on into the DZ era and new mechanics and whatnot, right? Of course, as someone who is very interested to like see like in terms of like looking at the competitive scene, maybe in terms of like the meta, aside from Rezael and Levitras, we have a whole year ahead of us. Maybe we could see like new decks popping up here and there. So maybe 2025 is not another year of Levitras and Rezael. Sooner or later, I felt like these decks might get outshadowed. They might fell off. They might get restrictions, they might get ban lists and whatnot. So maybe probably want to focus on that particular area as well, on like making more diverse metas, and have a lot of like interesting decks popping up here once in a while. But of course, only time will tell whether or not this is the case. And also like moving on to the idea of more starter products, right? So like a few days ago, probably like I think like around Tuesday, where they do the New Year's Eve stream, where they introduced like Zero and Shiki starter deck. If I'm not Shiki, yeah, I think it's Shiki the thing. on like the new starter products, which is technically their decks. With like new Regalis piece, unique and that like OT reprints and like unique Regalis pieces and something like nation exclusive reprints. Those are good. Those are actually great, but you know, aside from being Stoic, Kia, and Captor, you know, I wish they could do something for the same for the rest of the other decks as well. Maybe like for something like Dark States or something along those lines, but that is okay. That is not that bad. I think like the first things first. We should really give credit where credit is due. Like if they want to do like Regalis reprints, like Union the Sky for example was one of them. Twin Cast is also one of them. But also like the ways of how do you introduce like new Regalis pieces is a good opportunity. This is nice. Then hopefully that this year we might have more good starter decks for beginners and welcoming players as well, like returning players as well. Especially when it comes to like strike decks, right? So for some of the people that we might expect like this year, we might have a lyrical strike deck set. Hopefully it's Tiroa, because Tiroa is one of the few lyrical and / Bermuda trio decks that has not gotten into has transformed into strike deck set. Some people say it's Loris because like she's the you know, strike boss during the G era. But I'm leaning towards Tiroa at this point, because if we were to have Loris, it's difficult for you to get Loris. And so because it's not as accessible as like having like Tiroa, because you can buy the TD and then you can use the TD and then use the main Vanguard as like your and use it in the right deck, and then you can use it in the main deck. So that's one of the few ways that they can do lyrical. I'm expecting a lyrical strike deck set this year. If not, then we might expect either Ultimate or Asha strike deck set. It's either of these two, or maybe we can get everything at once, right? So that would be nice, right? As someone who really enjoys like the Tri-3 G era, I think the possibilities of them are not far. Given that like we are moving on to like Vanguard, like the G era 10th anniversary, which they've celebrated like since last year. So probably they wanted to like do something along the lines of like finishing up all the Tri-3 protagonists. So Chronojet is here. So it also warrants the fact that Ultimate and Asha might come back. Because they are a team, and you know they will not get separated, as in the case of how last year, not last year, last few years when V series was a thing where you have like the Chronojet TD, you have the Ultimate TD, you have the Asha TD, as well as like the next stage booster, which you have like the new Random Killers, the new Ultimate, as well as Chrono Dragon next stage. They are all together in one set. So technically speaking, wherever there is Chronojet, there will always be Ultimate and Asha, right? So you know, that's something along those lines, right? So that's one thing they can do with it. Although to be fair, in terms of like lyrical and Ultimate and Asha, these are I would say like they probably might have like very mechanical based keyword. So since right now there's a pattern of like say Shiranui has Dominate, Luwad has Ritual, Hari has Mangia, and Necros has Hollow. So maybe we might not get the OG Asha and Ultimate. So it's not gonna be the Blue Sky Knight Ultimate. It will be the Brave Ultimate and going with the Bloom Searing Heart Asha. Those are the high probability of the chances that we might get like those cards as like the new strike deck sets, which means that it's going to be very hard for some players to find back out of those cards, the G era cards. Although to be fair, I really like the Asha, the Searing Heart Asha artwork is actually very nice. You know what's the worst thing that can do, right? Having a blue Asha. Don't actually, please don't do Asha. Please don't do Asha. Anyways, Ultimate, they could do something along those lines. Lyrical, like I said, Lyrical is either they would go for Tiroa or they could do for Loris, because that's where Harmony keyword comes in. So that is where it's very important about like having decks with keywords in general. So we'll see how it goes. One thing that, you know, I really wish that Bushiroad can try to explore a little bit more is to do a Fated 1 deck set, right? Link in the description somewhere down below, or like if there's like a card there. where I explain the whole the fact that like 1 year later or 2 years, 1.5 years later or 2 years later, they might have to do something along the lines of like having fated ones, but in the form of deck sets. So Rezael deck set, Wagra deck set, Zoga deck set, you know, that would be nice, right? With like a whole new reprints and new cards exclusive to those decks. That will be nice, right? That I think that this is something that Wuxia should really explore, and it's money making, right? It can be good. It can be good. And if you're really so inclined, that you can probably, you know, wish for a Destin 1 deck set. That would be nice. A Leverage Destin 1 deck set and Audion Destin 1 deck set. That would be great, right? I would love to see that happening. But of course, that I'm putting my expectations too far, so let's keep it down for a moment. One thing, the next part is that more premium support. I cannot stress this how important it is, and I'm jumping back in premium, and what I've noticed so far, that even though that last year we got the Revengers, Musketeers and Juronex, you know, the deck sets, I really wish that this year, if they can do Force last year, they can do Axel this year. So decks like Eradicators, Silverthorns, Liberators, or something along those lines. Those decks that are limit break focused. Why not explore on that? That would be nice, isn't it? You know, Bluish Flames. Oh no, Bluish Flames is not limit break, it's like Legion. Like, I don't know, Gancelot Zenith, Monarch Sanctuary Alfred, or like, what else? Like a Dragonite Descendant, Gauntlet Buster Dragon. There's like so many varieties of like decks that they can actually pick, and you can make it into like say an Axel deck set, right? And then maybe on the next year we can probably do like Protect deck sets. Like, I don't know, like what other like OTT, like what's there in terms of like sub clans and uptime. Battle Sisters, that could be interesting, right? Limit breaks. What else? From March. What is the more like protects, like I don't know, Mega Colony, limit break, like machinings. Like machinings can be a very good limit break support, you know, strike deck sets, you know, something along those lines. There's a lot of opportunities to be explored when it comes to this kind of premium support. Of course, one thing that I really wanted to do is to introduce some sort of like new mechanic into premium, new strikes for premium, because honestly speaking, the last time that we had like a support set for premium was in 2022, and honestly speaking, I have gotten very boring with it in terms of like like strikes like Krug, what else, like Chain Ranker, and what else, like Shlishma and all of these stuff. Sure, they are very good decks, they're like good strikes. Like, can we have more, something new? Can we please have something new? Because honestly speaking, I'm very bored with premium right now. Even though like it's like the most, you know, brain challenging format at the moment, I really wish that they can introduce something that is exclusively for premium, or like something, a new mechanic of some sorts, or maybe like new strikes, new supports, new reprints, or erratas or something along those lines. Those are great. I really love to see those things happening, right? Because honestly speaking, premium is, at this point in Japan, in terms of Japan, I feel like Japan really needs to focus much on premium, because at this point premium is at this point is probably like synonymous with like Western scene of Vanguard, where like they are given more emphasis on it, but Japan never does. So premium is equals to the, you know, Western scene, Western Vanguard scene, where it's given the most emphasis, which is given the more limelight, the more highlight on those things, right? I wish Japan could probably spend this entire year to focus more on premium aside from standard. Sure, it's not bad to focus on standard, but I really wish that the same emphasis can be also given to premium as well. So that's about it. As well as maybe like probably just give us a V collection, okay? Another V collection with, even though I understand that V premium is gonna die anytime soon, right? Like probably sometime around this year, where they want to get rid of the format and then only have two formats where we have premium and standard. If they so wish, they want to. I really want them to like explore like clans that haven't got like reverse, like Gear Chronicle. Although of course, chronologically speaking, timeline speaking, there is no such thing as Gear Chronicle, because they came like after the Link Joker invasion, but it would be very cool to probably explore like a reverse gear cortical units, like I don't know, Chronojet reverse, Steam Maiden reverse, you know, along those lines, like maybe some random gear dragon that has a reverse form, so maybe we could see that. But of course I'm expecting too much and this is just basically daydreaming, but you know, it'll be really interesting to see that. Okay, now encounters in general. I might expect, as per different fight, you know what he mentioned about like new encounters coming in for this year. Like we might expect Grand Exorcisers alongside with Chaos Breaker. That was very interesting in one way. But also like I want to see like Angel Feathers coming in, as well as like maybe Great Nature or maybe like Neon Actor. Well, technically Neon Actor will play around like plant tokens, but even then. Maybe Great Nature, maybe like Mega Colony along those lines. That would be great as well. Especially I felt like I would say like what I call that, like Angel Feathers would be nice if you can introduce like Kyriel, if you can introduce like Celestials in general. That kind of like the idea is that you manipulate cards in the timing zone. That would be great. Yes, of course there is an angel. Yes, Captor Sanctuary has an angel. I hear you, Captor fans. I hear you. Rezael is technically an angel, but he does not manipulate his damage load. So I would say that I would prefer something that has a Vanguard that manipulates the damage zone. Something like Norcell. Norcell will be nice, you know. Norcell will be great. That changes around your swap around your damage zone and have your mechanics around those lines. That would be great, right? You know, make things spice up a bit in terms of encounters. Moving on is that the mechanic of Persona Ticket. Now, for those of you who are out in the loop of what Persona Ticket is, basically like in Tuesday with the stream and whatnot, they introduced a new Rainbow Cyclist, as we call them, that actually allows you to get a Persona Ticket, which is a Blitz order. That as long as you reveal a card in a red line that has a Persona right, or if you have a Vanguard with a Persona right icon, then you get the ticket, and then the ticket allows you to essentially like get another 10k shield and play another additional Blitz order, which is kind of nice. I feel like this is going to be the Cyclist of the year because you can so it's like I would say like this basically is going to be the equivalent of Gun Cyclist. But whether or not these cards find a place in decks is another different matter, because definitely some decks they can see this as a 4-off, some decks can see this as a 3-off, depending on the space and depending like how aggressive, like I would say like how aggressive this meta can be lately. Persona Ticket like more Blitz order options or more Blitz order plays is definitely welcome. That is definitely one way for them to explore this kind of like new mechanic. So I would say like this is a great way to try to affect the game, how this mechanic can affect the gameplay in the long run. Yeah, I'm interested to see that. So we have the whole year ahead to see what can it do and what it cannot do. Hopefully, I wish that when these cards come out, it's not as expensive as those EV cyclers, those gun cyclers. So yeah, some people are predicting that this is not going to be super expensive. Probably around like 30 to 35 ringgit or maybe 40 ringgit in a sense. So that's it for my expectations. Next one will be the anime. Anime wise, the new season is dropping out soon in sometime around January. This next 2 weeks. So hoping that they have a good banger story. They have like good character, good character art, good storytelling. Etc. Right, all of these things, right? Because one thing that I kind of complained during the Wheel Dress season, Wheel Dress era, is that they introduced a whole new characters, but they never delved into it. Like they are side characters, but you never actually show them what they can actually do, right? So those are kind of like wasted characters in general. So I really wish that like they have to explore like these characters. As well as I would say like I think like Divines has this kind of like issue as well, like particularly like Kyoma and Yuna, where I felt like they haven't given a lot of like, emphasis on it, other than like being like Kyoma being the vice CEO of Blitz, of like the anchor board, as well as Yuna, because I would really wanted to see like these two characters like having a lot of like limelight. Of course, like characters like Hikari, Swan, Kuon, they are very interesting characters, and hope like this season they can highlight their personalities more. And hopefully with new season is technically new memes, etc. So we're gonna have to land ourselves with a whole new memes of Vanguard this year, right? So may this year bless us with more Vanguard memes in general, right? So alright, so concluding remarks. So this kind of like concludes like what is my personal opinion about like a recap of 2024 and my expectations of 2025. So hopefully, you know, maybe if Bushiroad, some of the Bushiroad staff members, if they can understand English and they can understand some of the highlights that I'm trying to put out here, and it's not just mine. I think I want to extend this to a lot of other content creators who might want to share their expectations and their feedback for 2024. I'll take that into account and maybe just make 2025 another great year for Vanguard. And also, you know, this is a new year, fresh start, and I'm hoping to see that like everybody, you know, have a very great time playing Vanguard, and of course, get along, expect new things as well. You know, hope for the best. Okay, hope for the best. That this is going to be fun, exciting times for all of us, especially in this competitive scene, and as well as you know, new cards, new meta, and whatnot, right? So that's about it. This has been all from me. This has been President 95 signing out.